Austin,
Yes.
you're supposed to say Shane.
Jane.
There, that way people know who's talking at them. We've got to do some cleanup from last week. Last week,
Oh, did we?
we really do. Last week we recorded in person. We have been recording for some time remotely because it's much more handy dandy. And honestly, I think now that we've gotten used to it this way, I think I prefer this way. Like I got my feet up, I've got a headset on, it's just a bit more comfy. I'm not sure it sounds as good. I think at some stage we need to upgrade our headset microphones to like some proper ESPN, uh, broadcast level microphones. But that is for another time. But last week we did it in person. Our podcast on booking better 40K games, where I talked about and discussed people's kind of anxieties about where, who they're playing with and how they book games and the sort of things that I want to encourage people to do, which basically is, to put it in a nutshell, be brave.
Yeah.
Everybody is in this hobby for the same thing, which is to have fun with some people, hopefully friends, in public together, face-to-face fun, which is an ever more rare and fleeting thing in our modern, always online society. However, at the end of the pod last week, you jumped up and went and threw up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was not a good time.
Yeah. I was running out of stuff to say because I made my points a little too succinctly, and I was inviting your comment. You didn't have much because apparently you had a whole thing going on that had to be excised right then. And so I felt like the end of the episode just sort of kind of clunked and clanged to its the scene of the accident. That's kind of what it did. So we want to apologize for the people for that. However, I've not seen anybody mad, so maybe we're okay.
I think it's fine. Like, I just got sick during that last podcast, so it kind of wrapped up early.
Did you have any
make
further
a clean break, but kept kicking my drink over?
Yeah, kept kicking your drink over. Did you have any further thoughts about that? About the booking a game and stuff, now that you had some time to sit with it?
Well, I don't think so. I think we covered most of the points. Just talk with others over what you're looking for. Make sure you're all on the same path, and you're looking for games, and you should be able to have a good time.
Yeah, and it's possible.
Competitive.
It's possible you'll find some jackasses that just are determined to not have a good time and to be whatever you want to call it, elitist or closed-minded or whatever. What you do in those cases, I know those types of interactions can be discouraging, and they can be awkward, and they can be, mainly I think discouraging is the thing. Scary maybe, but I cannot stress this enough. When you have one of those interactions, what you do with it is you take that interaction and you wipe your behind with it and throw it in the trash, okay? Because whoever you've had that interaction with, they are not on your team. They are not on anybody's team. This whole thing of playing with plastic soldiers together in public is too silly a thing to be taken too terribly seriously. So when you encounter somebody who is just determined to not have a good time, let it slide off your back and try again. I promise you, it is. I don't believe anybody could bring me multiple consecutive examples of meeting that guy over and over again. There's no way.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to open up the Vox channel and talk about your comments. So the first comment is on, is the future of 40K Demons bleak? And the homie Craig, who is in our Discord now. So if you're not a member of the Discord, you need to be, because we've got a bits box in there where you guys can share yours. You can leave show suggestions, and you can talk about whatever. And we kind of do a little private show in there. It's free to join. The link will be in the description of everywhere that you get your podcasts. And the homie Craig says, as we discussed the future of 40K Demons, Demonkin potentially, what happens to Chaos Demons Codex. At one point, I got on my soapbox about Torrent and Blast weapons, and Craig says, I'd love to see Torrent and Blast go back to templates, personally. and I can never
Yeah,
argue with a template. A template and a random table.
gotta love it. Gotta love templates.
Can't get enough. Over here, this is Paradukes, and this is on last week's pod. Paradukes says, I'm lucky enough to have found a pretty good gaming group who are up for most kinds of games with enough notice. The general expectation is that everyone plays to tournament rules due to the number of competitive players, but we play Crusade as well sometimes, and in terms of weirder games, a Necron player has just thrown down the gauntlet against my Marines for an otherwise normal game where we play without any ranged weapons.
That's
Then he,
interesting.
that is interesting. He then paragraph breaks and says, I got to be honest though, if it wasn't for playing with people I know, or at least friends of friends, I'm not sure I'd end up playing at all. Which I don't like
Interesting.
that. I think that
Yeah.
I think Paradukes, you would do better than you think, just because you obviously are happy to get the kind of game you want. If you're playing Crusade at all, you're a person who's getting out there and saying, "Hey, you're slapping the table. I want to play Crusade." And therefore I think that you would have people to play with. And you would still
Yeah, just get out there.
yeah. But also a lot of what we talked about last week I think is a problem that is only a problem when you're not in it or you want to get in it.
Yeah.
Once you're in it, I find it's really easy to find somebody to play a different game or somebody to play 40K in a different way. And that's what Paradukes and his little crew has got going on. And that's what most communities, once you're in them, there's the try hard, super competitive people, but then in amongst them, and maybe even they sometimes want to break from that, and that's where you jump in to have fun on a random Tuesday.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
Sure.
that's what we have for the Vox channel. Leave your comments on Spotify, leave them on the YouTube video, leave them wherever you can. You can get at us on X at 40K Fanatics podcast on X, and of course in the Discord. Please join it. I tell you what, Austin, have we messed around and cultivated a little bit of a positive community over in the Discord?
It seems so. We're slowly gaining a little following of wargamers there. We're seeing what they're doing. We're seeing their hobby photos. We're posting memes. We're just having a good time talking. We discuss the podcast. People have differing opinions and they discuss it with each other. It's a pretty great community so far.
Let me tell you something too. If somebody gets in there trying to be uh, trying to be a rabble rouser, I'm bouncing them out. This ain't
Oh,
no
really? You don't want that?
no, not well. I mean to a certain extent. I mean, I can rabble a little rouse, but no. If you're just gonna jump in there and be an asshole, we're gonna bounce you out quick.
Yeah.
This isn't a democracy, folks. This is an invitation for good vibes. I
Wow.
feel like that's becoming the golden rule of the podcast is this stuff should be fun. Let's talk about it being fun.
Yeah.
I think your main topic has something to do with that today. But first, we've got to open up the bits box and talk about what we've done in the hobby this week.
Oh, yeah.
Open it
Open
up.
it. Oh,
Austin, you've been playing Fish Tank.
yeah. I've been working on the aquarium. Things seem to be going well with it. Added a bit of livestock. First, I added some live rock to the tank to try to help get the bacteria started, and it seems to be working out. I'm getting stuff going on in the tank, getting some algae now growing. So I bought the rock at Petco, and after having the rock in there for about a day or so, I've just absentmindedly watching my tank as I do, and kind of daydreaming about what I wish I could put in it once it gets a little bit more mature. And as I'm staring longingly at my tank, I see a little wiggly.
A
I see a little
wiggly.
wiggly thing.
Little
I see a
wiggly boo.
wiggly. Yeah.
Emerging from
So
the rock.
yeah. So I lean in and start watching the wiggly, and what do you know? It's a bristle worm. They are I guess I'd call them invasive livestock for a tank. They're kind of like earthworms in the ocean. They look like earthworms, but they have bristles on their sides, and if you touch them, it can be like fiberglass in your skin.
Ooh,
So if I handle my rocks, I'm going to be wearing gloves from now on.
I see.
But I've discovered those, and then recently I found other little creepy crawlies that are coming out of the rock, and I mean I'm embracing it. I've been waiting to see anything happening in my tank, so seeing any life in there is just tickles me.
And you were explaining to me
Rec-
because I know nothing about these fish tanks, but this is a saltwater tank, so it's not like just pour some tap water into a little fish bowl and put your goldfish in. This is a much more delicate ecosystem that you're trying to cultivate.
oh yeah, like I've added some snails in there to start consuming some of the algae. So I should start getting a cycle of snails eat the algae. They make their poop, and then the poop decomposes and produces nitrogen for the algae to regrow the algae. But I got some snails recently. 2 snails to slowly work on the tank, slowly getting it going. But it's been interesting. Got a new light for the tank the other day. It's got a 24/7 cycle on it. Got a sunrise and sunset setting, so I've got my lights automated now. I don't have to remind my girlfriend to turn them on morning when I'm not there. But yeah, things are going pretty well with it. In the miniature space, I recently got in a package from Games Workshop.
Ooh,
And this package from Games Workshop contains my made to order Empire miniatures for the Old World.
that's awesome. I'm really excited for some old world. I'm clearing the deck right now to for my high elves army that has been ordered. It is on the way to the friendly local game store. I felt very VIP. The owner of the place hit me up specifically. He's like, "It's high elves time." I'm like, "Yes, it is. Get me darn near everything." I did not get the Lions of Grace folks. So all the kind of Viking looking elves I didn't do because I don't have any interest in those. I'm not a Viking
Hey,
fan.
so I have a question about that with you.
Yeah,
Okay, so you don't like the lion guys.
I don't
So
like the lion guys.
with
I
the
do.
chariots, you're doing the horses.
No, I'm doing the lion chariots.
The lion chariots are manned by the lion guys.
Well, my lion chariots are going to be manned by regular old dudes.
That's not the way this works.
Well, I saw as I was doing a bit of list building, figuring out what was what and who was who, how many points I had coming, that there is a big old lion chariot, and then there's just a chariot with lions. Now, if you want the big lion chariot, you have to your warlord has to be one of those Lions of Grace guys. I'm not doing that because my is it warlord or general? Whatever. The
General.
the person deemed to be in charge of this thing. Mine's going to be a noble on dragon of some description, probably moon dragon. I think I may paint him blue. Or maybe a black dragon. Like almost a copper colored black green sort of thing. It's going to be a big job anyway. But yeah, there's two types of lion chariot, and one seems to be a big old chunky thing that requires you to have that sort of affiliate thing going on, and then there's just a chariot that is pulled by lions, and I think that's going to be cool.
Yeah.
And it'll have just regular old elf dudes manning it. Is the plan.
But I mean, I'm looking at it right now. I don't see the giant lion chariot.
Yeah, well, I don't know what it is, but it's called something specific. At least it was on that army list builder that you sent me, which was tricky to make heads or tails of. But yeah, I found some lion chariot that did not have the requirement of anything else. So as of right now, that's the plan. But we'll see. I'm getting the arcane journal and all that, and I'm sure that'll have all fleshed out the various stuff that I need to know.
Yeah.
But that's in the future. I've been clearing the deck though for that, and finished Vashtor the Archiphane. He looks really good. You can check him out on X. I think he turned out incredible. I had done so many projects to prepare for him, and it made doing him. He took like 2.5 sittings to finish, just because he's big, and there were a lot of steps. But every time I went at a step, I felt very good about my success of the step. So, though he took longer than I kind of feel very comfortable with, which I think that's just me not doing very many larger models, everything I did, I wasn't running into any problems that required solving,
Yeah.
which I thought was a very comfortable way to do that type of centerpiece model. Because if I'm going to run, a Soul Forge Warp Pack detachment, which he is sort of the champion of, even though none of the rules of the detachment work for him specifically, the way he, I mean, he's the king of the demon engines.
Yeah.
So he's going to be there, and I think he looks great. I did a lot of patinaed metal. I did my two metal type of gold trim on him that I've been doing on my more specialized uh, Chaos Space Marine armors, because he does have some armor panels and things like that, and quite a bit of
Yeah.
trim. His skin has got a deep purple in the shadow. I also did some tinting on him with the airbrush, and then brought him back up out of we talked about last week how he looked a little sunburned,
Hmm.
and I think he just turned out great. I did a cool thing. There's this light blue contrast paint that Citadel makes that is wholly useless unless you want to make something look like ice or marble, because it doesn't cover it all and it's way too thin, and I don't know what it's for, but for his hammer, for Vashtor's hammer, which should have a better name than that, the whole handle and up into the top of it, I painted completely white, and then I put this blue contrast paint on it because it has like little cracks and greeblings on it, right? And
Yeah.
it makes it look like it's this alabaster handle and hammer, which doesn't make any
Really.
sense for a hammer. And I think that's really cool, because everybody does it where the hammer looks hot or the hammer looks like it's got lava in it and stuff like that. So I went the other way. I also, of course, made his right piece of leg plate armor. I made that shiny silver, like it's made out of tin furl, uh, so that he matches all the rest of my army. So if ever I was
Yeah.
going to liquidate any of my Chaos Space Marines, which I have no intention of doing, they will be unsellable on eBay or in any other way.
Well.
But he turned out great. The bigger thing that I did, and this is a bit in preparation for the elves to come, is I went ahead and pulled the trigger on my first real paint set.
Yeah.
$200,
Oh,
205, something like that. Uh,
it really is a paint set.
Yeah, no, it's a real paint set. This in like 8 paints, primary colors. This is the uh, Army Painter Fanatics range, the 50 paint set. They, I had been eyeing it on Warlord Games website. Then I saw that they had it at the friendly local game store, and I said, you know what? I'm about to paint a whole lot of stuff. I'm tired of this random collection of paints that I've got. I have all the colors that I need, and I can move them around as much as I need to. The thing that has been driving me crazy is the consistency of each one.
Yeah.
And the best paints in my collection up to now were the Army Painter Fanatics Metallics, which I bought that whole box of like 8 or 10 or whatever it is. It's the whole range of their metallics, and every single one of them is absolutely excellent. And I'm like, if the metallics are cover this good, dilute this good, look this good, then there's no way that the blues, the greens, the etc. are not excellent. And everybody that I trust online to review stuff says that these are as good as anything else. I know there's a whole lot of Pro Acryl fans out there. I don't like the way they look so matte. I also don't like how they're so they've got a different kind of medium in them that makes them a little gel, and I don't care for that because I've bought some individual colors there. But again, all that did was add to this variance that I have in all my paints. The favorite ones that I have had and use are the Vallejo model color range, and I like those. And on the spectrum of, say Citadel to Pro Acryl, I think that the new army painter fanatics are probably closer to like your Vallejo uh, modeled color range in their consistency and their workability, and I really enjoy that. So I've been really having a good time having a consistent, just consistency from bottle to bottle, from paint to paint, from color to color, rather than having to think, okay, I'm going to use brown now, so this is going to take 2 brushes of water to get it to where it's not just pudding. Versus, all right, I'm gonna use blue now, and no matter what I do, it's gonna be, it's gonna be crazy opaque and just blast out everything. Oh, the
Yeah, I
red's
mean,
gonna the red over here is gonna come down in splotches for no reason that I can possibly fathom.
yeah, consistency is definitely what you want when painting like that.
Yeah, and I didn't need the whole range because I think they have another set at the friendly little game store that's something like 140 colors, and I think the entirety of the range is, I want to say, 240 something colors, and that you're in for about $700 at that point. And
Yeah.
I've done a pods before with Casey back in the day about how I don't think that a person needs 7 of every color. Like, I've had, I've got one, up until recently I had one blue, and I find blue very easy to move around from dark to light. I
Yeah.
had I had a green, and I could move it from dark to light. And now I've got 3 of everything. Some things I probably have 5 of some stuff in this 50 paint set. But I don't see me buying the colors in between ever because it's so easy to move from one over to the next, you see. Uh,
Yeah.
and the fact that they're very consistent as you go. If I want to grab dark green, I can just grab it. I can add white to it. I have lighter green or whatever. I think that I think the 50 is a good spot, and I'm really enjoying it. It also came with a little stand for all of them to be arranged on my desk, real pretty like, so I can see them and get to them.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Very classy. But
Yeah,
that's my bits
I'm
box. I also have been
glad.
working on some Judge Dredd guys because until the High Elves get here, I don't have anything on the docket just yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked your Judge Dredd guys. You posted them to our Discord. Join our Discord, please. Uh, I really like the green highlights you've got going. It's got a lot of comic book feel with it.
Yeah, so I was looking at my little 50 paint set in front of me, and I knew I wanted to go dark green to begin with because that's what you have to do. And then I saw that I had like this almost yellow green, I forget what it's called, but it's very, very bright and vibrant. So I stuck a little drop of that on and just blasted some big, chunky highlights on all of the knee pads and things. Um, Stuck around with my usual recipe for doing their sort of body suits, the Judge Dredd judges, because these are 5 judges that I'm working on all at once. Again, a bit of practice for a coming project, which is to do the High Elves. I'm thinking 8 or 10 guys at a time because I want to
Mm.
purposely do this army painting project as an army painting project, which I have not done before. But
Yeah.
I my good airbrush air quotes around that is Awada Neo. I think something's wrong with it. It doesn't seem to have enough pressure, and I'm finding that even when spraying inks, I'm getting some splatter unless I go nearly half and half with the Army Painter Air airbrush medium. But by then, it is so thin that I had to do 5 passes to get these guys
Mhm.
to be the amount of blue over white that I wanted. Which like I say, I think I need to upgrade my good airbrush to something that either wasn't abused when I got it or got abused when I didn't know what I was doing. Something is not right in there because my crappy $20 priming airbrush has got all the pressure in the world coming out. The other one, not so much, and it's as clean as it can be. There's something off.
There's something fishy in this airbrush.
That's right. But that's my bits box.
Close it.
I think close it.
Girl.
So today you're bringing a main topic. I don't even remember what it is. You told me once, I've forgotten.
Yeah.
And
Today we are going to be going over how to recover from a bad opening to a game, not lose your head, remain cool, and hopefully eke out the game, either win it or bring it back to as close as you can.
Okay, I like this. So, is this going to be a little like strategy meta conversation?
A little
Or,
bit mix of a strategy and I guess was it self reflection and uh, just trying not to psych yourself out.
yeah, a little bit of the psychology of losing.
Yeah,
I think too that this is probably a what losing in 40K, especially early, is kind of its own thing because an I go you go game feels so like there's a unique experience of an I go you go and you go second and I destroy half your army before you ever do anything.
yeah,
Like that is a thing that you just don't have in I mean, I guess we could say more modern games, but honestly any I go you go game is going to be like that and most of our big war games I think are like that or I prefer them to be. So let's get
yeah.
into it. Go ahead and lead us off, sir. This is your topic.
Okay, so uh, I have a list made out here, and the first thing is, let's say you're playing a game and you've got everything, you got all your armies set up, both sides are set up, and you do the roll off, and you get second turn. Okay, you're like, that's not very good. And then you have some big centerpiece model, and the other guy does his turn, goes to the shooting phase. He aims all his heavy firepower at that miniature, destroys it. You fail all your saves. Your dice are not going well right off the bat. Vehicle or whatever it is, monster is just gone, obliterated. Turn one.
Did not get to
You,
participate in the fight.
yeah, just gone. Your big, say you painted it well. It's just a unit you love. It's like a linchpin to your list. It's just gone. Uh, and you're probably feeling pretty bad about that.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah. So my list went away. So it's gone. A lot of people. I hate to say I'm included in this. They get so bummed out about that it kind of starts to create a chain of negativity in the game, where you're like, oh no, what do I do? I've basically lost the game already. But here's the thing: you haven't lost the game already because you still have presumably, depending on the points value, you still have at least 75% of your army or more left on the table.
Yeah,
And
so go ahead.
it's important to keep that. It's important to keep that in mind that you may have been like sucker punched in turn one, but you still have things on the board, and it's important to. I'll get to my second point in this is to assess the situation and what do you have left, and start making game plans on how to recover from this loss.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about when you lose a big expensive thing right at the beginning. Because
Yeah,
it appears on the surface. Now, there is a caveat to this, which I'll get to in a moment. Uh, it appears on the surface that you just lost, let's just use some simple math, 500 points of your army. So you're playing 500 points down, 1,500 versus 2,000. So you say, well, I'm never going to win. This doesn't work. However, your opponent now has one less turn of shooting, activations, etc. You still have all 5 of your turns. So
yeah,
the math is not a 1-to-1 of you just lost a quarter of your army. Now, the caveat is 40K, especially shooting, may be just a little bit too spicy in its current iteration, and it's continuing to get spicier as codexes come out because codex creep is real. But, theoretically, two people should not be tabling each other in the 5 turns. That's why we keep points, because if the game was just table each other, then you know I guess what I'm saying is 40K 10th edition's in a little bit of a weird place where you could just play till someone's table and you'd probably get there most of the time.
yeah,
Obviously people would run away and hide stuff and it'd be obnoxious. You wouldn't want to actually do that, uh, but it is not the end of the world because they have now exhausted an entire turn of activation. So really what you got to think is, okay, I got less points to start, but they're one turn down. I got one more turn than they do.
yeah. So yeah, it's important to take a breath. That's the important thing. Focus your mind. Don't get caught up in it all. Just don't become a doomer for this situation. Don't go, oh, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Don't do that. Shut up.
You do
Take a
have a bit
breath.
of this in you too. Like,
That's why I said I've experienced this, and it's a bad mindset to get into, and I hate when I do it. 'Cause sometimes when I get into this, I end up winning, and I feel like an ass.
right, right, because then you've not had any fun, and we've sat there for 2 hours with you looking sullen, and then you pull out a win, and it's like, oh, well, maybe I should have enjoyed myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Take a breath. Know it. Figure out what the next game plan is. And here's the big overarching thing of this main topic. Play the objective. Play the objective.
Yeah,
Warhammer
go ahead.
Warhammer 40,000 as it is right now, playing match play rules, which is we're kind of flipping this on our head. We're kind of going more into competitive talk. I would say kind of competitive meta, in that we're talking more like we're not talking just like friendly games. We're talking about if you're at a tournament doing this, if you're just anywhere, uh, match. We're talking about match play,
Yeah, we're we're,
and
we're talking
it
about we're talking about like the way that you score the points because you can just play till somebody gets tabled, and then yeah, losing the big unit right at the beginning is I like that. That's the kill shot. However, as much as we rail against match play and the sort of baggage that comes with it, it is a good way to play because somewhat abstractly, it is not a game about blowing stuff up.
yeah, we're not here for kill points. We're here to play the missions, and those missions have your objectives. And the interesting thing about 10th edition is that we're introduced with our secondary objectives we can get, and you get new ones every turn. So that's new chances to come back every single turn. So you still have a dog in this fight, even though you're on the backhand. Uh, excuse me. Uh, so when you're down on your luck like this, you need to look at all the objectives on the table, the main objectives, figure out, do I have guys left that can go and accomplish the main objectives? And if you have guys that can, go do that. Start making plans for all your guys. Uh, and then anyone else, what are your secondaries? Figure out your secondaries. Start figuring guys who can accomplish that. Don't worry about your losses. This is something I've got, one of my main points I'm bringing up right now, but you need a fluid mindset, and that you need to be able to duck and dodge whenever you're being hit with the opposition of your plans. You need to be able to adapt, figure out contingency plans. I'm going to do this. If this doesn't work, I've got this as a backup. I may be speaking from a point of privilege of playing guard, in that I have a lot more expendable units into where I can think like this. I've got this down on my list as play the game like Ender's Game. I don't know if you've read the novel, Shane,
I have not.
but it's also a movie. But in the book, it's a science fiction book. A kid is trained basically to attack an alien planet. He thinks the whole, little bit of spoilers, skip ahead a little bit if you don't want spoilers for Ender Game. But basically, a child thinks he's been trained to attack an alien planet. He's been running simulations. It's like the military is having kids lead them for command or strategy.
Yeah,
It's like a bunch of whiz kids, but
sure.
the kid's been running like simulations with his team. Just simulation. They're like, you got to prepare for this. Our main attack. Just keep doing it, and they he trains and trains and trains and trains. Then finally, they give him the final simulation, and he beats it. And in the simulation, defeats the enemy. By basically sacrificing all his units to do that. It turns out in the end, he was actually, the whole simulation was reality, and he was actually commanding battles and actually sacrificing human lives to accomplish the end. Uh, that's the way you kind of look at it. You gotta look at it as these units are probably going to die going after these objectives, but you have to let go of any like attachment you have and just focus on playing the mission. Oh, your intercessors, they're really nicely painted. They're going to go jump on this objective, but they're going to die the next time someone comes over and maybe like melee fights them. But here's the thing: don't worry about that. You're there to score points for this turn. They've done their duty. Look at where you can score points next. It's all about staying fluid, ducking and diving, ping-ponging around the board, trying to gain as many points as you can.
I
Don't
think,
worry about losses.
yeah, I think that Match Play 40K is less about like sort of threat assessment and eliminating sort of alpha strike units. That gets a lot of talk and a lot of strategy, I think, dedicated to it, but
Yeah.
it's not really what it's about.
Oh.
I never seen or read Ender's Game, but I like what you're saying there. But what I am reminded of is the Star Trek Next Generation episode, where Data learns to play whatever that game is, their little 4D chess thing, the multi-level.
Oh, where they wiggle their fingers?
Yes, where they wiggle their fingers, and he they are going to have the master of the game on the ship to play Data, and Data, of course, is an android, and he's hyper intelligent, and he doesn't believe that anybody could possibly beat him. And this guy comes in and waxes him over and over and over again, causing Data to have a crisis of confidence,
Oh.
thinking that, well, if I can't play this game that I know I absolutely, mathematically, and technically have mastered, then what else am I unable to do?
Mm-hmm.
And then Jean-Luc Picard says some great stuff, and Data proceeds to go and play the guy to a draw because he can't actually beat him, but he can bust him up. And that, I
Yeah.
think, is a little more what 40K match play is like, where even when if you can't go destroy everything, which if you're 500 points down after the top of turn one, you probably can't destroy everything that your opponent has because they've probably destroyed the thing that would have destroyed everything. Then
Yeah.
your next stop on the ladder of how am I going to get through this is I'm just going to bust them up. I'm going to I'm going to score my secondaries. I'm going to stand guys on points until I don't have any guys left. And by the time we settle up the score, they may lose.
Yeah.
And they'll stand there like, "How did you do that? You don't have any valuable stuff." And
Yeah, you're just jumping around the board, grabbing those points where you can.
and then you can tell them it is possible to make no mistakes at all and still lose. And that
Yeah.
is life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's really powerful.
Yeah, well, that's what Jean-Luc told Data. He felt the same way.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah,
Uh.
I didn't make that up, folks. If you thought that was me, no, we would not be on a little tiny podcast if I was coming up with those kind of gems.
Yeah. 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 Just bust them up. Even if you're not able to score points like this, anything you can do to disrupt the other guy from scoring points. Like if you're just getting like the worst secondaries and everything, you can still make it a hard time for your opponent to even score. Send guys to disrupt his objective control. Move block his guys. You can really even up the battlefield like that. Even
Oh man, and let me tell you, at a tournament, they people hate this more than anything. Is when you're getting beat, but you're keeping their score suppressed.
yeah.
Oh man, you can turn some games around because guys will come unglued if they're like, I know I'm going to beat you. I blew up all your stuff. It's like, okay, but you're going to score 30,
Yeah.
and I'll see you again in round three. you know,
Good luck in sixth place.
that's right. Enjoy yourself because the winners are going 100, 192,
Yeah.
and you're going to get out of this with a 30 if I have anything to say about it, and I'm gonna try.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh.
What else do you
Yeah.
have
Just
on
doing
your
this.
on your list? Have we
Let me think.
exhausted the topic list?
I think I've kind of blended a lot of these together.
Take me through them. Take me through them, and let's see what I've got. We've got about another 5 minutes worth here.
Yeah, I've got a game. If the game's rough at the start, talking about blowing stuff up turn one, your losses might not be so bad. Just taking account of what's left. And I don't have like too much that I've lost. Taking a breath, just cool yourself down. Don't just like get upset over everything. Keep a cool head. Play the objective. How can you make this work? How can you solve this game now with what you have? Contingency plans. Form plans within plans within plans. Do it Zinch mode to try to score you some points, and then have a fluid mindset at the same time because you're going to be drawing those objectives. You don't know what you have, so always stay on your feet. Have guys ready to do just whatever you need. And like I said, play it like Ender's Game. Just be ready to just sacrifice guys for the sake of points.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's about scoring points. I don't know how many Pyrrhic victories I have in 40K, but it's a lot. Where by the end of the thing, I got hardly anything left. The tide is coming on me, but we're out of turns, and it's time to count them up, and you lose. Um, I think too, if I may pontificate some more, happiness is a factor of our expectations. All right,
Yeah.
and to say it another way for this kind of thing is don't hate the player, hate the game.
Hmm.
If you like 40K, then you are going to have to like the idea that sometimes you get to go first and blow up their big scary tank. And sometimes they're going to go first and blow up your big scary tank. That
Hmm.
is the game. They didn't do that to you. That is just what you have decided is the way you like to spend your time. And you can have a conversation with yourself of whether you like to spend your time that way. But the thing is, it tends to feel really good when you're the hammer.
Yeah.
But to get to be the hammer, you sometimes have to be the nail. And we must always be we must always make peace with the expectation that there's a possibility that we're the nail today, that the dice don't like us, and that them's the breaks. It's the
Yeah.
same game that you love when the dice are hot and you go first or whatever happens. Because honestly, the other thing, if you look up go first, go second win rates, there's not much in them. I think from time to time I'll win more going second than going first. Uh, I can look at different brackets of time on my tabletop battles app and see that.
Hmm.
So, you know, it what I'm saying is this is part and parcel of the hobby if you're going to play this particular game.
Yeah.
And
Just
the game's pretty good. Like, again, we give match play so much shtick, not because match play is inherently poor. It's really good. It's the most balanced way to play, and there's no doubt. We give it stick because the people that want to play it and only it tend to be so serious all the time. You know,
so overly analytical about the process of the game, and kind of just focusing more on results than the actual journey of the game.
yeah, well, yeah. To the reason why we're critical of match play, especially on this podcast, is not even the match play. It's the competitive side of it, where everybody acts like this is the World Series or something, and they're so worried about the the math of it and the methodology of it, and kind of the right way to play.
Yeah.
And that feels a bit like hustling backwards to me. But more generally speaking, more broadly, this is just the game. And that's okay because I always say competitive 40K, I think, tries to make 40K into chess. And I
It
don't
does.
want 40K to be chess because chess is chess. I also don't want 40K to be like basketball or golf. Do you know why I don't want them to be basketball or golf, Austin?
Why?
Because basketball and golf are basketball and golf. It's okay for stuff to be different. It's okay for this game, this hobby, this whole experience to be its own unique thing that is hopelessly unbalanced and kind of silly. And sometimes you get to be the hammer, and
Sometimes you get to be
sometimes
the nail.
you're the nail. But that's okay. There can still be fun in there. in the ways that you've said, in the keeping your head about you, and in the making a different plan.
Yeah.
We all want our big chunky unit to just go and, I want Abaddon to deep strike in with his Terminators, for me to never miss a 9-inch charge, and for Abaddon to proceed to just charge and blap one thing after another. Just, especially you playing guard, because you've seen it happen sometimes, where he just starts down a line of tanks.
Yeah.
That's super fun for me. Less fun for you.
Oh. Usually, anytime he shows up, I'm like, okay, everyone, open fire.
Yeah, and sometimes you shred him, and that's the end of it, and then I don't get to have fun, but you got to say, whoo, dodged that one, and that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hammer and nail.
Is that the new Warhammer subtitle? Warhammer, Hammer and Nail.
Well, they have that Hammer and Anvil deployment map, and that's a solid name for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Austin, I enjoyed that topic.
I'm glad you did.
Get in the comments and let us know get us in the comments and let us know what you think about when stuff is going wrong. What do you try to do? Are you a person who just plays casual games? Do you just re-rack? Because, sometimes, especially depending on how spicy your lists are, that initial you blew up a quarter of my army may mean that, this thing is sunk. And if you play with people enough, you get a sense for that. And I'm pro re-rack. Like, what are we doing? If you've just blown up a quarter of my army and you say, man, you want to just start over? Yeah, let's start over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tuck my expensive unit behind this ruin. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I've been Shane. That's Austin. We're 40K Fanatics Podcast. Check out our latest movie podcast, where 40K Fanatics Podcast do a movie. We did Dune, the 1984 version. I thought it was terrible, but damn it if it isn't fun. Let us know what you think about that. Leave suggestions for movies you'd like us to cover, because we like them. And as always, don't forget to
stay fanatical.